So Guild Wars 2 has been, for the past 2 weeks, going ahead and setting up all of the teasers, the excitement for their upcoming 6th expansion. Should be releasing the trailer tomorrow. The expansion's set to come out in October. Leading up to this, they basically have confirmed that there are new Elite Specializations, and they've been dropping all the teasers leading up to it. And we just got the last one today, so I'm going to go through the ones that they have and try to take a good guess to see which one is going where. All right, starting out with this one, and these are in no particular order, the cards. Now, these cards initially came out immediately. Everyone was either thinking Mesmer or Thief was going to get this Elite Specialization, either going with the Gambit kind of play style or Magician style, which would 100%, a Magician would fit for the Mesmer, Gambler would fit for the Thief 100%. I initially thought the Thief as well, because look at the star patterns right there in the middle, like right here, that very much looks like the initiative that you spend as a Thief. So that was not unfound. However, after doing a little bit of digging and stuff like that, this is also very similar to Waiting Sorrow. Waiting Sorrow being one of the primary characters of the Janthier Wilds expansions. This seemed to be very tied into her because you had to go around and collect her cards as like a one-off side achievement. And she was an Elementalist, but like supercharged or superpowered Elementalist. I don't really know how they would spin this, but honestly, if I had to look at this and take my best guess off of these cards that you're seeing here, I would say it's either Thief or Elementalist. I actually don't think that it's going to be for the Mesmer. I don't. Just because I feel like they already lean so heavily into that Magician kind of feel, look, whatever you want to say it. Now, if it is the Thief, it could be like the Gambler, where they do like a card draw. Instead of their steal profession mechanic, they actually draw a card, and the card gives them a certain power, a certain boon at random, very similar to what we already do with steal. However, it's done at range, so they do a card draw and okay, bam, you know, they get, you know, a free stack of 25 for might for 10 seconds. You know, something cool like that. That could be an idea. If it's for the Elementalist, very similar to, actually, if you play Final Fantasy XIV or you're following along with me, you would know that the Astrologian draws a card, and that's kind of like at almost a whim. You could set it to a cadence, but almost at a whim, you have a different buff or benefit that you can apply to allies just by drawing a card or shuffling your deck. So just a couple of ideas of where I think that. If I had to pinpoint one, I would say I think this is going to the Elementalist. All right, so the first one that went ahead and started this whole idea, and of course, I'm sorry, I'll be the first one to say that this is like nothing but screams Mesmer to me, is the Bard. We have the lute here, which almost acts as a way. It's like, of course, the Bard, or the minstrel, I should say, is always been tied around what the Mesmer is. Now, that being true, yes, I have been looking at it because that's, to me, that's too obvious. ArenaNet's known for adding a little bit of mystery to the Elite Specializations when they announce them. I'm leaning more along the lines that this may be like a storyteller or some kind of legend speaker. I would even go as far as to venture to guess that this could actually be for the Ranger, or this could even be for the Revenant. Now, let me explain. The Ranger could be more of like the naturalist storyteller in that sense. Now, that's lower on the expectation scale. I don't know if that would actually happen, but it would make sense for the Ranger to have in all of their travels out in the wilderness is to be a wandering minstrel or a wandering, you know, support character in that regard. Now, I don't know if that would kind of double up on what the Druid already does. The Druid is already very like support oriented. I don't know if they would do double support, because I'm without a doubt this is going to be a support class. I would be very shocked if it wasn't. Let me put it that way. On the other hand, I could see this being for the Revenant as well. Think about this, because Revenant channels the legends of Tyrria's past. It wouldn't make more sense if we had some kind of storyteller being opted in while the Revenant is channeling that legend. They channel that legend, and their abilities are musical or they're support oriented in that regard. I mean, that's a little bit of a stretch. I mean, but I honestly think that the Mesmer is just too damn on the nose. It's too obvious in that regard. All right, now the shield that just came out today, this one just got announced 40 minutes ago, and it looks awesome. And I think I know where they're going with this. I hope and pray that they make this the guard spec. I don't know what they would call it, maybe a guardian or a guardian, a Paragon. No, can't do Paragon. I'm thinking that they would name it something like the Bulwark, like Bulwark. I can't say it right. You guys make fun of the way I speak anyway. But like a defensive oriented, like capitalizing already on what the Guardian already does, but oriented around a shield and using the shield maybe in melee and other types of combat. But I would make the mention that there's not too many other classes that can really utilize the shield. What do you have? The 3 heavies, you have the Chronomancer, and then what, the Engineer? Like, there's really not a whole heck of a lot that they can do with the shield, and they're not introducing new weapons really into any other classes or specs. So honestly, this screams to me Guardian, and I can't even really see it any other way. This has to be Guardian. That doesn't, there's nothing else that it could possibly be in this regard. Now, this one was a little bit different. This one, they went ahead and threw a bit of a monkey wrench in that regard to me. Looking at it with the arrow and the bow, I would definitely give it the idea that it's a short bow of some regard. With them not adding any additional weapons or weapon combinations for players or for classes, then that narrows it down very, very much. Like, okay, so let's look at even just longbow. Longbow can only go with, the warrior, the guardian, and then the ranger. Right, like that's it, the 1, 2, 3 of who can use actual longbows. Short bows are a little bit different. Okay, so you have what, the Revenant, you have the thief, you have the engineer, and then you have the ranger. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. That's it. There's really not much else that could do it. So I'm curious to see how they plan on doing this, because if I had to say it was a short bow, I honestly could see this being the thief. I really could see this being as a thief because it's like a seraph, like the seraph guards that you see all around Kryta and all in Tyria and stuff like that. Now, I could also be overthinking it, and perhaps they're doubling down on, a better short bow use for the ranger, because let's be serious, longbow is, if you're playing as a ranger, longbow is like primarily what you do. That's like guaranteed 100% everything that you have. But counter to that, the wings and the feathers, the wings that are tied to it kind of make it feel like it could be something else. It could be like just a different spin on the Guardian's longbow. I think that's too, like, I don't know. I think that's too much on the head, really. It's like kind of too obvious, because the Guardian already has the Dragon Hunter that utilizes the bow. And while it is unique, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into this too much. Maybe they will double down on, a Guardian with a longbow, and I was wrong about the Bulwark as the shield. But if I had to venture a guess, I'm actually pinning this one for the thief. If I had to guess, I would say that this is the thief and not necessarily anything else. This one came out and it has a bunch of different looks. A lot of players have said that it looks kind of like a bunny, which I can kind of get. I do get that it's a bunny looking, but it almost looks like a spirit fox in that regard. So I was actually thinking, watch this be for the ranger. Initially my thought was the ranger. Yeah, I did mention that the ranger could potentially be like the storyteller or the wandering minstrel or something like that. Shout out to Yoshi P. But the idea of it being like a spirit fox in that regard has me really, really thinking that it is something to the ranger, where the ranger is channeling some kind of, spirit energy to infuse themselves. It's like a spirit fire or a fox fire kind of idea. I can't really see much else, I should say, for this being really any other class. I don't know. This one didn't really fit any of the ideas that I already had. So I'd have to pin this one for the ranger. This has to be the ranger in that regard. All right, this one I had to think about for a little bit, but there's really only one class that I would say fits this kind of identity or this design, and that's the engineer. To me, this is the engineer's new elite specialization, and it looks for some reason kind of like the Incredibles logo, but the idea is that it looks almost like an ion. I was thinking about this. It could be like some kind of ion, like gravity oriented kind of mechanism, elite specialization. And that would make sense given everything else that has happened with the engineer, how they have evolved over every expansion. There's one thing pay attention to, like, okay, so the base expansion, or the base game, engineers used pistols, rifles, explosions, turrets, and all that. They got to Heart of Thorns, and after the wreck of all the airships, they scrapped together whatever they had and made like hammers and stuff like that and armor to be able to fight off Morgemoth. Then when they got to the desert for Path of Fire, they realized, hot damn, it's hot down here. There's a lot of sunshine, so let me use solar power to become a Hollowsmith. They went to Cantha, and they started using the Jade mechs that the Canthans were already using. So it makes sense that they would kind of like keep that trend going in that regard. I'm thinking that this is Engineer. I don't really foresee anyone else being it. I mean, you could maybe argue the Elementalist, but this kind of already doubles down. The circles already, to me, kind of double down on what the Elementalist already does with the Catalyst. I wouldn't say anything else. So if the Revenant isn't the minstrel or the storyteller, and it is true that the first one that we saw, the one with the lute, was the bard, this in 100% of the regard is absolutely going to be the Revenant. These look like the jagged edges, the maul, the kind of like powerful, I should say, image that I would expect for the Revenant. And like, I mean, just even looking at like how the Herald looked, I mean, it feels that. Now, what legend would they I mean, I don't know. Maybe they would channel like Cryptus. They would channel like a cryptid legend. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know where they would go with that, but that to me, that just seems like that says Revenant right there. Absolutely 100%. I can't really see it otherwise in comparison to everything else that we have. That's a Revenant to me. Luckily, this one was super easy. This one's Paragon. This has to go to the Warrior. We've already gotten some of the teaser work of art for it. And usually what you can tell with the works of art for class identifications for Guild Wars 2 is that they have the color schemes that go along with it. So the Warrior already has orange, and they've teased an image with wings, and he's got a spear. If you play Guild Wars 1, you were aware of what a Paragon is, so it just falls all in line. This is Warrior, no doubt in my mind. This one is interesting, but I think that it's actually going to be the Ritualist, and I think that this is going to be the Elite Specialization for the Necromancer. Necromancer hasn't been a part of any of the conversation yet. One could argue that maybe it's like an Assassin, which was a Guild Wars 1 class. That was one of the classes that you can get for the Factions expansion. That's too much on the head, you know, like that's way too obvious. And then someone on Twitter actually pointed out, or X pointed out, that it's not in fact like a straight dagger, a smooth dagger. Those curved daggers or those rigid daggers look almost sacrificial. So I'm thinking that the Necromancer is going to get the Ritualist. Now, granted, the Ritualist doesn't necessarily like sacrifice spirits, or at least it didn't, to my knowledge, but it could change. I don't know. They could just have a different iteration. If this is true, the Champion Ritualist Revenant title is going to be hilarious, because they will be a Champion Ritualist and not be able to be a Ritualist. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but to me, Necromancer right here. Yeah, so final numbers, final call. I would say that this is Elementalist, this would be Mesmer, this would be Guardian, this would be Thief, this would be Ranger, that would be Engineer, that would be Revenant, that would be Warrior, that would be Necromancer. Yeah, there we go, and that's just the Mesmer. I think there's very little other different ways that they could spin it. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, and we'll find out. This has been fun. So if you guys have any different takes than I have already said, go ahead and pin that down in the comments down below. I'll be reading them. I'll be catching up on them. If you guys are getting used to Guild Wars 2 and not sure of what class that you want to play, you can go ahead and click this video here, which will tell you every beginner class that I would make a suggestion for. As always, stay caffeinated, folks.